Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lili Nishmasimi Mirosi Ruspas Mordechai. Rabbi Sai. In-house, we have some amazing guests. First of all the way from Chicago, Simi Mandelbaum. That's one I recognize. What's your name, sir? David Hirsch. From David Hirsch? Woodmere. From Woodmere. Do I recognize you? Oh, Moti Breskin, the famous Breskin. Okay, related to Rebudi Finkel. Okay, Gewaldig. And then Rabbi said, just 2 days ago, I was telling the Olam here, I was supposed to go to a what? There's another. Hold on. I was supposed to go to Siyum 2 nights ago with Avi, and I really wanted to go to the Siyum. I got an email about it, a whole thing, and I had to make a decision: a week or shear, or go to the Siyum. And I really wanted to go, so I didn't go. But then I got the video clip, and I really recommend to watch this video clip. We'll try to make it available. Hopefully, Reb Morty Rasby, he made a Siyum. He's here with us today. Basically, he's going through some Yisurim now, and he's having a surgery this coming week. So the Oilers Shadavim for him. He said it's his first Siyum in 16 and a half years. You know, come, Morty, if you're able to come here, just tell the Oilam that one piece. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. The main piece. First of all, he's trying to make the Siyum. He couldn't get the words out. He's crying. Everybody in the room was crying. I cried for 10 minutes straight. Shalom Aleichem, Morty.
Morning.
Very nice to meet you.
It took enough time to actually get to this year, but I'm gonna make it very short of why it's in less than a minute why I'm in this year and what's gonna keep me in this year. Number one, I did not pick up a Gemara for 16 and a half years since I got married. Since I got married here in Eretz Yisrael. What got me to pick up Gemara is very simple. I hated Gemara with a passion, and I walk into the hospital room where my friend Yosef Newman is hooked up to chemo. It must have been the second or third round. And before I walked into the room, the first words out of his mouth weren't even, "Hi Morty, what's going on? What's new? How are you feeling?" Was, "Morty, I found the perfect thing for you to get your mind off the pain." I live with pain day in and day out. I take high doses of morphine twice a day just to get through the days. And I never thought that at 36, my life was going to turn upside down for 6 years already. I already went through a couple surgeries that I was paralyzed. And I told the doctors that I was going to walk out of the hospital off my crutches and drive my car home. That's exactly what I did. 5 weeks later after being in the ICU and after I died and came back. I literally died and came back. That's exactly what happened. But then, so my friend goes, "Morty, we were fighting about it. Like, should I do it or not do it?" I said, yeah, probably. I don't know if I'll do it. He goes, no, you just watch it once and you'll like it. But it's not just doing the daf. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy it. And I'm not like, I hated Gemara. I hate Gemara. But I said, you know what? Not anymore. I do not hate Gemara anymore. And yesterday, I went to Nes Harim. I wasn't doing so good because I'm in a lot of lachats to the surgery. It's a 2-part surgery, the first time being done in Eretz Yisrael. And the idea is that I told the professors and doctors I want to suffer to be able to help others. And I said I will be willing to suffer and do anything in order that I'm able to that you guys are going to get something out of it to help others, not for me to become famous. I don't want to become famous at all. The idea is to help others, how to teach others how to not become stubborn. So how does the daf help? When I was in the chemo treatment, the fifth one, I walked in and Yosef was sleeping. And I said, you know what? I didn't catch up on the daf. I'm on my way. I just got here, took out my Gemara, sat there and did the daf. He woke up. I said, Yosef, sleep. Don't worry. I have to finish the daf. I have a couple more minutes left. And that's exactly what I did. 6th treatment when I was there just last week. This past week, he finished treatment on Monday. I was there on Sunday, or it was there Thursday. I was in there, and he goes, and I go, Yosef, I'm going to stay with you. I ended up staying with him for 7 hours. His wife had to get home to the 3 girls. They live on Nachshon. And I said, Yosef, I'm going to stay with you. You know, Morty, no, you're not staying. You always say you want to help me. And then he goes, that's it. Morty, and then I did the daf. I said, don't worry, I have daf to do. Did the daf again. I was crying as I was doing the daf, and I said to myself, how could this guy suffer for me? like he's suffering in a way, and I'm doing the daf in order for him to get better. And that's exactly why I said I am not going to stop doing the daf. And that's why I sat in the mountains in Nes Harim yesterday and took out the daf and did the daf. And that's what I do every day. And that's how I get my mind off the fan. Thank you so much.
Shlomo. What's your name?
Mordechai Shlomo ben
Sari
Tilly.
Ben Sari Tilly. By the way, we go back.
Yes, we do.
Used to be a waiter in my catering place.
Yes, I was.
20 years ago.
And I remember when I walked in, I said,
for the chesed weddings.
Yeah, and I said, I'm not going to take money, and I'm going to work as a volunteer.
Unbelievable.
That's what I was doing in high school. And
unbelievable. So you should have a Refuah shleima.
Thank you very much.
All right. Wow. Okay. What time is it? I don't see the clock for whatever reason.
I went way over the 60 seconds.
So it was worth it. It's well worth it. The daf, basically what he said, let me tell you what he said in 10 seconds. He says the daf takes the pain off his mind. He's able to get into the daf and the pain goes away. He said by Siyum. What time is it? Who? Maishi. I don't see. Okay. Oh, Shalom Aleichem. Oh, what's your name? Mendy Talam. Shalom Aleichem. Nice sweatshirt. Where are you from, Mendy? Woodmere, another Woodmere. Shkoyach. Rabbi Sai, just to follow up on yesterday's story with the chassid with ALS, I had my brother Yidi grab a picture of me showing the clip of you reading an inspiring email from Michael Ben Mela about the ALS chassid who's doing the daf in North Miami Beach. We happened to be in North Miami Beach with my father having to do the daf. He recognized the chassid and he showed him the shir. I felt I had to share with him firsthand how inspiring maybe thousands of people, how he's inspiring thousands of people. And the picture is his son, he spoke about it in the email, confirmed that someone stopped to speak to him while he was learning. Rabbi, I just want to tell you a follow-up to this is Mechi Wurzberger showing the chassid with the ALS yesterday's shir. But Yisrael Goldstein told me an incredible story. He said that since he's not able to write, he took the Dirshu test with his eyes. And it took him, he says, 9 hours. And by the 9th hour, the computer lost all the information. And he went back the next day and redid the entire test. Because he's doing the test with his eyes. So, unbelievable inspiration. And with that, I'm going to have to leave all the emails I was supposed to read today with all the pictures. We have an unbelievable sugya, Rabbi Isai. Gershon, if you can fix the screen somehow, it would be great. Or somebody help him. Wow, we have different siyumim going on to be for next year. Here we are. We stopped smack in the middle of a sugya, so let's just... Oh, sponsors. That's another... I don't know what time it is. I could go for as long as I want. The koil of this, what time is it? Wow. Koil sponsor this month is Mr. Anonymous Lili Nishmas Chai Bas Yosef. Maseches Chagigah is dedicated by the Kessler and Davis families. Refuah shleima for Miriam Esther Bas Devora. Don't worry. There's no screen, but you're going to hear the buzzer. That for sure he has. Michael and Jamie Bimela in memory of Devora Fego Bat. Still, I thought that was it. Oh, today's the last day? Today, okay. Devora Fego Bat Shmuel Menachem Mendel Ben Elchanan Mendel Shabbos Haven Aliyah Mashiach Shekam Ben Meheira Pansar Achoidesh Zechus for Rafael Shlomo Ben Lifsha and Rivka Bas Gila. They should be zoche to Zera Shel Kayama bekorov. MDY Family sponsoring L'zeich Nishmas Reb Shalom Borch Yuda Zechron Levrach Ben Rav Yosef Yחיאל Michal Shlita Reb Yidi Leibowitz Sari Tepper L'zeich Nishmas Chayaleh Bas Yosef on the yards today. Joel Wall L'schus our success with the Amazon aggregator show. We will do the daf there. It's a little bit of an ad. Okay, snuck it in there. By David Dimbert. Baruch Hashem Atoy V'Ametiv. With great simcha and exceptional happiness on the birth of our first grandchild. Mazal Tov to the Sapper, Dimbert and Sukol families, the aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, great grandparents. Mazal Tov, David Dimbert from Illinois. Yeah, Rabbi Sai, we have a lot of complaints about the parking. It's upsetting neighbors, and we don't want to be we're neighbors. We have to be good neighbors. So please find legal parking. Thank you. We are trying to arrange an arrangement with the building next door to get parking there. It's going to cost us, and there's going to be a system. But until that time, please be considerate to all the neighbors. Fine. Rabbi said, let's jump into this. Today we have an amazing daf with sugyas from all over Shas, and it ends off with one of the most amazing agadatas, if we could get there. So we were smack in the middle of the sugya talking about Shalmi Chagigah, that's one of the korbanos that you bring when you go up to the Beis Hamikdash. You go up on Yontif, you bring 2 korbanos, a oila and a shlamim. Oila is for Hashem, shlam is for yourself. You get to eat it. So, says the Gemara, let's just say Bal Peh, what we learned yesterday. If a person brings 10 korbanos, he says these are the 10 korbanos that are for my Shalmi Chagigah. He only has to bring 1, he decided to bring 10. And he wasn't able to be makriv all 10, he was makriv 5 on day 1. Can he be makriv the next 5 on day 2? So it says like this. I can't see it on the screen, so I'm going to look over here. If he's mefarish, he says, these 10 are for day 1, then it doesn't matter how many guests he has and how much time was left in the Beis Hamikdash. Since he says specifically it's for day 1, he can bring it any day he wants, because we know he's not messing around. He doesn't think in his mind that he can bring it on day 2. He just didn't feel like bringing it on day 1, so he can bring it on day 2. The problem occurs when a person makes a mistake and he thinks he can bring a carbon shlomim on day 2. That's the problem. Then we don't allow him to do it. So where's the problem? Stam. He wasn't mefarish, it's for the first day. He just brought 10 karbanas. What was in his mind? We have no idea. Now let's see. If there's time left in the day, in the first day, to bring all 10 karbanas, and he has a lot of people staying by him, so then why didn't he bring all 10 karbanas? What is his excuse? He has no excuse. And he didn't explain that it's for day 1. Maybe he meant it's for day 2. Maybe it's Amaretz. Amaretz cannot bring his 5 karbanas the second day, so he can't bring it. It's red. He cannot bring it. But let's say he brought it stam. But he has a good reason. They kicked him out of the Beis HaMikdash. They closed the door. He doesn't have guests. Then he could bring it. Even in stam, he could bring it. That's the end. Let's just finish the sugya. Says the Gemara, Itmar Nami, last line on the bottom. Omer Rav Shem Rabbi Rav Yochanan, Leishanu Ela Shlei Gomar. He didn't finish up his karbana. He didn't finish. What does finish mean? Aval Gomar Choyzer Makriv. If he finished, he has a good reason. He can go and be makriv the rest of the karbanos. So the Gemara explains, my Gomar, Ilim Gomar Karbanosov. If it means he finished all 10 karbanos, my makriv. He only has 10. They're gone. What else does he want to bring? He doesn't have anything else. Says Gemara, Ella Shlei Gomar Hayah, we're talking about that he had some time left over in the day. And since he had some time left over in the day and he didn't bring all 10, and he didn't explain himself that he wanted all 10 to be the first day, we don't allow him to bring the rest of the karbanas the following day. But if he has a very good excuse why he didn't bring all 10, the day is over, they kicked him out, they locked him out of the Beis HaMikdash, he brings the karbanas. Says the Mishnah, the official Mishnah, Latzlacha Gashmi for Menachem and Tamar. Whoever doesn't bring a Chagigah on day 1, Shel Chag, we're talking about Sukkot here, but it could be very, very easily talking about Pesach as well. Pesach is not a Chiddush. The tremendous Chiddush is on Sukkot. What is the difference between Sukkot and Pesach for the Chiddush? Because the last day of Sukkot is a different Yontif called Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah. Is it? Yeah. He could bring it the entire sukkah. Here's a picture. He should bring it on day 1. He didn't bring it on day 1. He could bring it on day 2, 3, 4, even day 8. Even though day 8 is Simchas Torah, he's permitted to bring his shlamim or the oilas riyah on day 8. We're talking about the shlamim now. But what if it's day 9, 10, after Sukkot already? What? I said even Oilas Riyah. We're talking about, we're talking about Chagigah, but the same halach applies to Oilas Riyah. It has Tashlum, you can bring it the rest of the days. He missed his opportunity, he was sick, he couldn't get to the Beis HaMikdash. Obviously, you can no longer bring a Shalmi Chagigah once Yom Tov is over. It got lost, it got stolen, whatever his excuse is, you can't bring it. Azen Emar, it says in Koheles, Me'uvas lo yuchal liskoin. He made something crooked, you cannot straighten it out, you can't fix it. V'chesroin lo yuchal limonos. Something that's missing, like this Chagigah, he's missing his Chagigah. Too bad, he's going to die without bringing Chagigah. There's no tashlumim, you can't make it up. What else do we say this? Very good. What? Where is it? Fourth prayer, brachas is Dr. Factor. What daf? Chava, very nice. You looked on the side over here? No. Okay. Good. But we're going to have it in Amud Beis, Beis Hashem. There's a lot of things. Tefillah, the Marshal says even Tefillah B'tzibur. If you miss Tefillah B'tzibur, Mamzer is another one in a second. Says the Gemara, says the Mishnah. Reb Shimon ben Benasi Yomer, Ezu Me'uves Sheni Yochel Litakin. What? I'll give you a great example of something that you made crooked and you can't fix. Zabal Erva V'Hoyle Mimeno Mamzer. Somebody that had relations with the Eishes Ish and they produced a child. Now you could do tshuva, but the tshuva is not going to be very effective. It will be effective to a point, but it won't be completely effective. Why? Because you left your mark in this world. By having a child, producing a mamzer, you can't undo that. So the fact that you can't undo that, you might be zoche, says the Marsha, explains the Marsha and other Rishonim, you'll be zoche ta'olam haba, you'll still get that Gehenim. If you don't have a mamzer, you could do complete tshuva basically on Eishes Ish also. Tshuva works for everything, provided you don't leave a mark in this world. Now, a person steals, robs, if a person steals, just gives it back. It's over, it's done. Crooked means that you were straight and you went crooked. But that's referring to somebody that's good. But if somebody had relations with the Eishes Ish, how good could this guy be already? He's probably no good to begin with. So he's a crooked guy that added another crookedness to his crookedness. So that's not a straight guy that went crooked. He's a crooked guy that went crooked. So what's a very straight person? If his whole life was good, he's straight like an arrow, and then he went and he had a mamzer, or then it's crooked. Okay. What does it mean? Why does the Talmud Chacham not? Why does he lose out? So one shot is he loses out that period of time. Let's say the tshuva, but he missed the 2 weeks that he was a Rasha. There's another shot based on Reb Shimon bar Yochai in Kiddushin Daf Mem that there's an incredible chiddush over there. Just like you could do tshuva, everything has a polar opposite in this world. You could do tshuva on averis. You could also do tshuva on mitzvahs. So if a person has a ton of mitzvahs in his account, and he regrets all those mitzvahs, then it's muvas lo yuchal liskain. He lost his mitzvahs. It's a terrible loss. Says the Gemara, Minani Mili, how do I know this incredible chiddush that if a person didn't bring a carbon on the first day of Sukkot, he could bring it all the way on the 8th day of Shmini Atzeres, which is not even Sukkot. It's not 100%. In some way it's Sukkot. In a lot of ways it's not Sukkot. This we'll put away for now. Put it over here. Okay. Here it says we're just trying to establish a Zera Shava here. It says one word it's exact the same word between Pesach and Sukkot. So it says atzeres by matzos. You see, matzos, atzeres. And then the next passage says by Sukkot. It says also the word atzeres. So just like by Pesach, I could bring my carbon. And that we established before. They could bring a carbon the entire Pesach, so I could bring the carbon the entire Sukkot. Just like Pesach, you can make it up. Says the Gemara Mufna. Many times when it comes to Zera Shava, we use this Gemara, and that is when it's Zera Shava, atzeres, the word has to be, sometimes it has to be completely extra. Not just that the words match up. Here it says it's not necessary, and because it's not necessary, it's a very, very strong Zera Shava that has no pircha. I can't slug it up. I have no answer to it. Otherwise, I have a big question on this Zera Shava. Okay, Zera Shava comes from Moshe Rabbeinu. We don't make up Zera Shavas. Moshe Rabbeinu got, but we're not exactly sure where Moshe Rabbeinu got those words. Is that Atzeres in this pasuk? Atzeres in different pasuk? Maybe it's Atzeres in Shvuas. Maybe I compare Shvuot. So to say that this is the perfect Zera Shava, I need to know that this word is 100% extra. How do I know this extra? Dilav mufno ikul mifrach. I could ask a question. What's the connection? Look at this. Sukkos is very, very different than Pesach. Sukkos, this is called Simchas Torah. It's a different day. It's a different Yontif. Now, what's the difference? So Rashi says the famous Pizar Keshav. We're not going to go into it, but there are 6 things that separate Shmini Atzeres from Sukkos. And these are the 6 things. You have to do another Gairol when it comes to the Beis Hamikdash. Who's going to get to do what? Halal is different. Everything. The Shir, Shel Yaim, the Shmoneh Esrei, there's a different, we say Shmini Chagigah Atzeres, etc. 6 things. Says the Gemara. It's very different. Says the Gemara, look at this word. I thought it was interesting. Lie. In English, lie means sheker. In Aramaic, lie means it's the truth. It's the polar opposite. It's almost the same word. Lie. Fine. Lie. Lie. Yes, you are right. Lie means you are right. It is 100% extra the word atzeres. Michdi may atzeres, otzor. Think about it in Hebrew. Atzor. Stop. Don't do any melacha. So the word atzeres means to stop, don't do melacha. The question is, why do I need it if it's right here in very small letters on the bottom? Kol melechas avodah lo yisasu. It says in this pasuk. Pasuk lamed vav v'kravdim mishal Hashem atzeres hi kol melechas avodah lo yisasu. It already says in the pasuk you can't do melacha. So then why does the pasuk say atzeres to stop? What's the point to stop? The whole word is extra. Once the whole word is extra, I have a beautiful Zera Shava from here to here, from Pesach to Sukkos, and therefore I learn from there, just like Pesach. I could do tashlumim, I could bring my carbon if I forget. On day 1, I can bring day 2, 3, 5, 7. So to on Sukkos, I can do 1, 2, 3, 8. Even on Shmini Atzeres, which is sort of a different yontif, not 100%.
It's not a different aliyah l'regel. You're there already, and it's the same aliyah.
That's your pshat. It's a different yontif. Michdi might say Basi is melacha. Let's say a guy goes up al regel for Rosh Hashanah, so then Yom Kippur is the same. You have to know that you need a pasuk for it. Michdi might say is melacha. Haksiv has a melacha. Why do I need to say it? Because of Rahman Lamali. Why do I need it? It's completely extra. Vitana ma'isila melacha. Who was the one that said it beforehand? Oh, my Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Yochanan is Amayra. Now I'm going to bring you another source from a Tana. Vitana ma'isila melacha. So, if you look at the pasuk, the Chagoisim is referring to, and we're going to have tomorrow. How do we know? In Hebrew, Chagigah can mean a party. It means just to have a good time. It could mean carbon Chagigah, to bring a carbon. How do I know what it means? There's a whole Amud in the Gemara to explain it. But it says Oisai. Oisai is singular. You should bring a carbon Chagigah when? Day 1. Then a second later it says Shivas Yamim. You can bring it for 7 days. Then again it says Oisai on there. So what do I do? It's almost a contradiction. But the pasuk is explaining something. Maybe I could bring the carbon Chagigah 7 days. That's Shivas Yamim. No. Bring it on day 1. You cannot bring in all 7 days. So then why is he 7? Bottom line is, the Torah is telling you, you want to do a lechatchila, the best way to do it, bring on day 1. If you mess up, you have 7 days to do it. But don't just think, oh, there's no rush to get to the Beis Hamikdash, I'll bring on day 3. No, that's not good. Bring on day 1. If you can't, you had COVID, then you bring it on day 2. So this is the Tana. This is not Rabbi Yochanan. He has his own pshat. How do I know that I could bring the carbon on the last final day on Shmini Atzeres? Oh, there's another Oisai. The second Oisai tells me you can bring it also on Shmini Atzeres. Maybe I could. It says Chodesh Shvi, the entire month. No. Maybe that's where the second Isaac comes for. What? The second Isaac comes for this meal. That what? Isaac, you could only do it on a yontif and not on a weekday. I don't know. Maybe the same thing. We double dip. I don't know. This one for sure is from the second Isaac. Could be the first one. I don't know. I have to look back at it. Umay tashlumim. Rabbi Yochanan Omar tashlumim l'rishon. Now, we already went through the sugya, easy stuff. This part at least is easy. What are you bringing the carbon when you don't bring it on day one? Why are you bringing it on day two? Rabbi Yochanan says it's instead of day one. You're supposed to bring it on day one, but you didn't. It's like, we said then, like a guy that's davening Shmoneh Esrei, he forgot to daven Shmoneh Esrei Shachris, so he says the second Shmoneh Esrei Mincha. What is that second Shmoneh Esrei for? For Shachris. He's doing Shachris in Mincha time. Over here it's Tashlumim. He's doing his carbon from the first day. He messed up. He brings it on the second day. No, says Rabbi Shaya. He argues. Rabbi Shaya Omar, Tashlum zelazeh. Not true. Every day is a new chiyuv to bring one carbon. So any day that you bring it, you're yaitze. You can bring on day one, you're yaitze. You can bring on day two, you're yaitze. They bring on day three. But day two is not instead of day one. Day two is its own chiyuv. What's the nafkamina, how you look at it? It's very, very similar. One is that you're chayiv only on day one. And if you forget to bring on day one, you can bring it on day 2, 3, 4, 5. The other one is no. The Torah generates a new chiyuv every single day. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every day is a new chiyuv. Shkoyach. Every day is a new chiyuv. And if I don't bring it on day one, I can bring it on day two. If I don't bring it on day but day two is its own chiyuv. I did it on day 2 and I'm yaitz in my whole chiyuv, even for day 1, even day 3. I can do it any day I want. But it's a new chiyuv. It has nothing to do with day 1. Day 2 is its own chiyuv. L'may nafkamina, if a guy was born on day 2. In better terms, if a guy was injured and he couldn't come to Beis Hamikdash on day 1, he was on crutches, but on day 2 they removed his crutches. Since he didn't have a chiyuv on day 1, the speakers are still on. So let's see inside. My benayu on Zera Shel Kayama. A guy was lame on the first day, he couldn't make it to Beis Hamikdash. When his passion and became healthy, b'yom sheni benayu. Rabbi Yochanan Amar tashlum l'rishon. He's just trying to make up day 1, and since given the lechazi b'rishon and he wasn't available on the first day, lechazi b'sheni, he doesn't have to bring it on the second day. Every day is a new chiyuv. You're right, he wasn't available on the first day. Chazi b'sheni he's available on the second day. Rabbi said, now we're going into some beautiful sugyas that if you never learned Gemara before, or you yeshiva bacher, you only learned Bava Basra, etc., etc. I actually just got a beautiful email from Amir. I'll read it the Beis Shabbos Shabbos. I want to read it today. He said it's the daf. Just now, you hear Tomer by going to him, it changed his life, and that he learned the first time in his life instead of watching movies, he learned 6 daf of Gemara on the plane right back home. He still goes home in the middle of the Zman. But that's the no. I just thought about that. It's a terrible joke. Okay. Yeah, Zok the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan Hachi. Does Rabbi Yochanan really say that you're making up day 1? What's going on here? It goes like this. Rabbi Yisai. We have a few cases that are the same exact. The only difference is when they happen. You have a nazir. A guy goes to Kiddush every Shabbos. He realizes he has a drinking problem. So he says, I'm going to refrain from wine for 30 days. 30 days. He has to grow out his hair. Can't touch wine. Can't touch any byproducts of wine. And then during the 30 days, he goes to a funeral. He touches the dead person. He's within the death. Becomes tummy. He has to start his 30 days over again. But before he starts his 30 days over again, he has to go through the tahara process of 7 days, not becoming tameh, and then bring karbanos. Everybody agrees, this is no question. Case number 1. Everybody agrees to this case. If he touched a dead person during, right over here, he has to wait 7 days to be clean and bring karbanos over here. If he touches another time, during his 7 days, touches a dead person, how many karbanos does he have to bring at the end? Just 1. His typical karbanos, whatever he has to bring, because he became tameh within the tumah. You can't touch a dead person 10 times and say, oh, you have to bring 10 karbanos. He touched a dead person here, he touched a dead person here, he brings 1 carbon. But here's what's interesting. What happens if he touches the dead person after day 7, on day 8? First he touches a person here, he waits 7 days. Then he touches the dead person again when he's able to bring the carbon. Also no question. He has to bring 2 karbanos, 2 sets of karbanos. Why? Because they don't overlap each other. He finished his chiyuv on carbon right over here. the next day, before the Shlomo, before he went to the Beis Hamikdash, he brought his carbon, he bumped into a dead person. Now he has to bring he has to go to the Beis Hamikdash, bring 2 sets of karbanos, because they don't overlap each other. Over here, they overlap each other. Over here, not. Yeah. From when he finishes his 7 days, you see, he waits another 7 days, right over here. Maybe shtei karbanos. This and this is connected. He touched a dead person here, then touch a dead person here. Don't bring your carbon now. You can't go in. It says over here, Nazir Nagabi. A Nazir touched me, says the dead person. I don't know if you can read it. Okay, fine. So then he does 7 days of Tahara, brings 2 sets of karbanos. It happens to be that he's a Nazir, so he has to bring 2 birds and a sheep times 2. Our sugya is talking about this. Now what? He touched the dead person at night. What is the night? Night, you can't bring a carbon at night. So do we view it as if he touched the carbon in a time that doesn't overlap with this? He touched a mace, he touched a mace in a time that doesn't overlap, so he has to bring 2. Or no, the reason why he can't bring a carbon is a technical reason. It's nighttime, the Beis Hamikdash is locked. It's like as if he has a carbon and he's in a car stuck in a traffic jam. He has a technical reason why he can't get there. Not because he's not able to, it just happens to be that it's closed for business. So for that we have a machlekes. Okay, now we see inside. Says the Gemara, maybe if he gets tamei on day 8, and that's this case right over here, he must bring a second carbon. Maybe means the second one. Balayla. But if he becomes tamei over here at night, Eloy maybe. Why? Because he didn't become chayiv according to Rabbi Yochanan yet. Eloy maybe. Balayla, sorry, this is not Rabbi Yochanan. Eloy maybe. It's separate. No, sorry. If you say it maybe, this is connected to here, and you bring 1 carbon. Anyway, Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Av Balayla Nami maybe. Rabbi Yochanan holds, no. Even at night, if you do over here, the night is part of the day. So it goes like this. Very, very simple, Rabbi Yisai. Rabbi Yochanan, the Gemara is asking, interesting. Somebody who is lame, has crutches, not pshat that he's potter. He has a technical difficulty. When you have a technical difficulty, says Rabbi Yochanan, you have to bring a separate thing. You have to bring 2. So if a guy that's lame, he has a technical difficulty, he has crutches, he just can't get the Beis Hamikdash, he should be chayiv. Why are you saying he's potter? Says the Gemara, says the Gemara, by the way, the sugya is going to be over in 10 lines, not exaggerating. It's a little bit interesting. We're bringing a lot of sugyas in just to expand our Yidis HaTorah. And it's going to be over, going to Agata soon. But I'm telling you, it's Gishmak stuff. Says the Gemara, you know why? Because if a person is tamei on the first Pesach, the Torah enables him to bring a carbon on the second Pesach. In other words, we're very lenient, or we're considerate to somebody that's tamei. A person that's lame, that has crutches, the Torah never said you can make it up. There's a special makeup when it comes to karbanas. And that's why Rabbi Yochanan says, bring 2 karbanas, because it's a carbon. Very good. Returning to the Beis, that's great if Pesach Sheni is a makeup for Pesach Rishon. But if it has nothing to do with the first one, it happens to be something called Pesach Sheni. Sponsored by Moshe Horn. Moshe Horn. Everybody together, Rabbi Yisai. In honor of Chewy, Woody, and the Kale twins. And the second sponsor, I have no idea. I forgot to write it down. You know what? In honor of myself, wishing myself Hatzlacha, sponsored by me in all of my endeavors. Boys got Ishkoyach. By Moshe Kinsbursky in honor of Brian and Talia Edgar. Ishkoyach. Michael Elamar Papa Kasover of Yochanan Laila Einoi Mechusizman. It's a scary word, but all it means is that the night is still part of the day. So if somebody touches a dead person, another touches a dead person, nighttime, it's already part of the 8th. We agreed, everybody agrees, right? We started out the sugya, that if the Nazir touches that person here, he has to bring a carbon over here. And if he touched another dead person on the 8th day, he has to bring 2, because 8 has nothing to do with the 7, it's independent carbon. So too, Rabbi Yochanan holds that if you do it the night before the 8th, the night before is part of the 8th. It's lav mechusas man. It's not missing any time. It's part of it. It's one and the same. One and the same. You have to bring 2 korbanos. As the Gemara, now it's going to throw us into the sugya of ziva for 2 seconds. Okay, so real quickly, ziva. What is ziva? Ziva, a person has an emission. It's not carry. It's something that comes out of his body. Comes from a disease. So if he sees one sighting of it, he's like a balkari. One X, he's like a balkari, meaning he goes that day to the mikvah and he's tar that night. However, if he sees twice in the same day or 2 days, sees twice, he becomes a zav, a full-fledged zav, meaning he has to wait 7 days and then he's tar. But if he sees 3, it's like he sees 2 with a little bonus at the end. He has to bring a carbon on day 8. Okay? It's the same thing. 3 riyos in 3 days or 3, one after another the same day. He has to wait 7 days and bring a carbon. Now, here's the big question. So, same thing like we had a second ago by a nazir. A person had 3 riyos right over here, he has to wait 7 days. But then, the night of the 7th, he has 1 riyah, and the day of the 8th, he has 2 riyos. Again, 3. Can we combine 1 and 2? In the same case, can we combine 2 and 1? To make him chayiv 2 korbanos like a nazir. Since they don't really overlap, since day 7, he's already chayiv in his carbon, and then again he saw ziva, so he should be chayiv another carbon. But wait a minute, he didn't become a zav. What happened to him is he only saw 1 ziva. 1 ziva equals carry. So the question is, does 1 go together, carry, go together with these 2 that he had the following day and makes him a zav? He was a zav the night before or not? Let's see inside. And then the sugi is over, Rabbi Yisai. Oh, yeah, I know you guys are missing it. If he saw 1 ziva the night of the 7th, and 2 on the 8th day, maybe he brings another carbon, and the pshat is, Rabbi, we have to remember the pshat, because the carry of night 8 is mitztarev with the 2 of day 8. And together you have a real zav, and a real zav has to bring another carbon. Rav Shisha argues on it. Why? He says, how could I be mitzaref something that's not connected? If they're in the same day, or if they're within the same week, fine. But over here we have a tremendous break. We have 1 that belongs over here to the 7, and 2 that belongs in another week. How can you combine the 2? That's Rav Shisha. And we don't hold like Rav Shisha. Says the Gemara, Shtayim balaylo, however, this case over here on the bottom, 2 at night, vachas beyoim einoy mevi. Why? Because he became a full-fledged zav. 2 re'iyos makes him a full-fledged zav. He just doesn't have to bring a carbon. When did that occur? At night. So at night you can combine it with the first carbon and he's chayiv. So in Mela you don't have to bring in a second carbon. Shtayim balaylo vachas beyoim. You hear what's going on here? He has to bring a carbon anyways because he had 3 re'iyos over here. He has to bring a carbon. Mandy, sorry. He has to bring a carbon over here. And he had another 2 re'iyos. That goes with the first carbon. But if he only had 1 re'iyah, so that goes with the following day. The following day requires a second carbon. Geschmack. However, we have a big problem. You told me that Rabbi Yochanan holds that the night is part of the day. So who cares, says the Gemara, these 2 belong to number 8. They don't belong to this. The whole svar was that these 2 belong over here, that's why you only bring 1 carbon. Not true. These 2 belong to the 8th day. Says the Gemara, a way to wiggle out of this a little bit. I wasn't talking about myself. My shita is that the night is part of the day. I was just saying that according to the Mandama that says that the night is not part of the day, even if he has 2 re'iyos at the night, he only brings 1 carbon because anyways he's bringing 1 carbon. As the Gemara, nice try, but of course he only is chayiv 1. That Mandama says that the night is not connected to the day, and he didn't have enough re'iyos in the day. He only had 1 re'iyah. Why should he have to bring a second carbon according to the Mandama? Says the Gemara, I'm telling you, this case, the first case is Rabbi Yochanan's chiddush. That what? So gedei dechamino ke'as kafta. The Rav Shisha, the Rav Yidi, kamash malon, the Rav Yosef. This is Chinese. You have to look in Rashi to understand it. Very, very simple, like we explained already. What's the whole svara here? You hold that the night is not part of the day. Yet there's a tremendous chiddush here. Even though he saw a ziva on the night, and the night is not part of the day, I could combine this one ziva he had over here with the two he's having tomorrow, and it becomes a zav. Even if you hold that the night is a real stop. Now, I would ask you, maybe it goes like Rav Shisha, that what? How can I combine the two? They're on two different. One is this week and one is the next week. You can't combine it. No, we don't. We hold you could combine it. That's Rabbi Yochanan's big chiddush. And now to the Agadita. If Yontav passed and you didn't bring a korban Chagigah, you cannot bring it again. You can't make it up. It's too late. Omar lei bar hey hey lehillel. It's a song. Again, if it was a good song, we would sing it. I hope that guy from Yeshiva, what's the Yeshiva choir? Okay. Why are you smiling over there? Okay. So Tais explains what's hey hey. What kind of name is that? Who named their kid Hey Hey? It's a funny name. Hey, Aleph Beis Gimel Dalet Hey. Hey is referring to a ger. He was a ger. His father is Avram. That Kosh Baruch Hu added a hey to Avram, became Avraham. And his mother is Sarah. Her name was Sarai and turned into Sarah. And that explains this Taisus also why the name is Ben Bagbag. Ben Bagbag, Ben Bagbag, Oimera. That's a better song. Fine. Again, Beis Gimel is 5. Beis Gimel 5, hey. So, fine. I mean, hey, hey was already taken by hey, hey, so they called him Bagbag. Just my pshat. So, yes, Hillel. Hi, li manois. Why does it say to be counted? Li malois mi boy. He dug a hole. He has a hole in his Yiddishkeit. You have to fill it up. You can't fill it up. Hello. It's a loshon of minyan, of counted, of being part of. If your friends ask you to be part of a mitzvah and you're not mitzvah with them, you don't get the mitzvah. Now, what's the chiddush? Of course. If I didn't do a mitzvah, I don't get a mitzvah. Shkoyach, of course. Perhaps the pshat is Daf Yomi. It all goes back to Daf Yomi. But similar to this, that if you don't do the daf with all of Klal Yisrael, you won't have the same schar as if you do it the following day. So therefore, stick to it. There's such a thing. You could do the mitzvah later. I'm not making this up. The Marsha says it. You could do the mitzvah later, but you're not going to have the same schar as if you did it with the minyan that asked you to do it. Says Gemara, Tanya Namehachi, Mu'uvas Layuchal Iskoin, Zesh Bitel Kriyashma Shel Shachris or Kriyashma Shel Arvis. If you miss Kriyashma once in your life, you can never make it up again. When we learned it in Brachas, they said over there that you did it on purpose, etc. Oishe Bitel Tefillah, or you missed the Shemon Esrei Shel Shachris, Tefillah Shel Arvis, and that's why I said that Marsha adds, even if you daven Shemon Esrei, but you don't daven B'minyan, that you'll never be able to make up. You didn't do the mitzvah with them. This Rabbi Sai is one of the most famous Gemaras in Shas, and it has a tremendous amount of pirushim, and many mashgichim made a living on this Gemara. You should see the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha, between somebody that serves Hashem and somebody that does not serve Hashem. Says the Gemara, Hainu tzaddik. Oh, Hainu tzaddik, Hainu oived elikim. Isn't that the same thing? A tzaddik and somebody that worships Hashem. Hainu rasha, a person that's a rasha. Thank you. Hainu asher lo yavadei. It's the same thing. Omalei. Avadoi v'lo yavadoi. Tarvai tzaddik gemurenu. We're talking about the greatest of the great, the biggest gdolim. There's a tremendous difference between somebody that learns Shas 100 times and somebody that learns Shas 101. What do we call somebody that learns only 100, not 101? Loi avadai. He did not worship Hashem, and that's why all the mashgichim go into what could it possibly mean? The guy learns his entire life. He's Loi avadai. 101 pshatim here. Let me just show you real quickly. The Maharsha brings this, not as pshat, but these words that we just read. Oved Elikim Lasher Le'avadai. He says Oved Elikim is gematria 70 plus 30 is 100, plus 1 is 101, and the beginning of these of Le'avadai is 100. There's a big difference. Fine. Another pshat I saw, I forgot who says this, that Michal, who's in charge of memory, his total Mem Yud is 50, Chaf is 70, plus 30 is 100, plus 1 is 101. If you learn 101, this is Gila for memorization. Now, my chavrusa asked me not to say this, so therefore I'm going to say it. I don't know what do you think about this. Oive, you better not talk about that. So I want to say this is very, to me, it makes a lot of sense, and I had a whole new pshat this morning. I don't think I'm going to go into it. Whoever wants to hear afterwards. But because it's the middle of a daf shir, I'm not going to mention any names. But the greatest athletes in the world today are basketball players. The greatest athlete that ever lived is alive today, and I'm not going to say his name. He happens to have the same name as this, whatever. Fine. And there's another guy that he's either number 2 or number 3 in the world. He got killed in a helicopter crash just the other year. They are the greatest athletes that ever lived. L'chayra. Everybody's masking. But what made them number 1? And you look it up, you'll see, and I said this before, what made them number 1, and this is L'toyelis Harabim. Number 1, they outworked every single person in the NBA. Both of them. You look it up, you'll see. We're talking about the greatest athletes that ever lived, who work out all day long, but these guys came in at 4 o'clock, not at 4:30. They did that extra half hour, and because of that, and that's why, and the Nakuda is like this. I'm sorry, my chavrusa. The Nakuda is that every single child in this room, and every single bacher that's watching this year, could be Reb Chaim Kanievsky 100%. The difference between Reb Chaim Kanievsky and everybody else is he outworked every single one. Yeah, I understand this follows the stipler, this and that, and it's chus that. But at the end of the day, I don't know that Reb Chaim Kanievsky has more kastronis than anybody else. It's the amount of time that he puts in. He outworks every single other person. That's the difference between the Galadar. There's many Gdolim that put in all those hours. But that extra half hour, that less sleep, that a little bit more, bam. That makes you la'avadai. To be in the NBA, la'avadai. That's in the NBA is la'avadai. You want to be number 1 in the world and make all that money, you have to put in that extra time and effort. Zog the Gemara. Because of 101, because of that one thing. How could that be? In. Yes. Say ulamad mishuk shechamorim. Go rent a car. Asar paris bezuze. You rent a car for 1 day, cost you 10. Chad asar paris bezuze. But if you rent it for a day and 5 minutes, it's going to cost you the whole extra amount. You want a donkey to take you for 11 miles? You're going to pay double than 10 miles. By the way, again, just another nakuda. The Chavis Avava says this, that if in this world, in order for the shade to move an inch, the sun has to move millions of miles. Any nakuda that you do here in this world, learning the difference between 101 and 100 is millions of miles up there. It's that one. That one makes all the difference in the world. Zok the Gemara. Yeah, I'm saying it just has to do with us also. Getting up, doing that extra thing, trying to get somebody to the daf, yeah? Ooh, it's 8:05. Trying to get that, and it doesn't work, you still get the schar. It's that little extra effort, that little much. Okay. I'm just going to go to the 2 lines down. I'm going to mold you a tzaref like it's hatzorfim with silver. I'm not going to do this as Rashi with fire, like they mold silver. I chose that you should be, instead of Yisurim, instead of Gehenim, I'll make you poor. What should I give the Klal Yisrael to save them from Gehenim? And he found poverty. Here, look at this picture. A beautiful white horse that has on it a red ribbon. The Gemara says, not me. He bars the sumka like a red ribbon, to a white horse. It stands out like that. Poverty for Jews is beautiful. We might be in a very difficult generation because we have poverty, but we have a lot of the opposite. So, okay, Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day, a great Shabbos. Shir Motzei Shabbos is in a new place. Surprise! We're going to be right here in Beis Medrash at 8. 30.